Hello, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking about reciprocity.com, the sharing economy proofreading platform that I'm trying to build. The E is spelled with a 3, and in this particular video, I really wanted to talk about what are economies of scale and what are they, why are they so important, and what can you do in your business to make sure that you can actually get economies of scale. So this is part of my series. I call it Startup and Small Business Saturdays. This is where I provide advice to anybody that is running or starting their own startup or running a small business and they want to get that business to grow a little bit more. I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship at a large state school in Florida. And this is kind of the stuff that we might talk about in that school, and the stuff that we would talk about in learning and understanding the different parts of strategy in small businesses and in startups. So this is really interesting stuff. So what exactly is economies of scale? Well, these are efficiencies that are gained through some sort of size, whether it's the size of production, whether you're producing more stuff, and that's normally the way that we're thinking about it, or just through just being a larger firm in some sort of way, right? But generally, we're thinking about the number of widgets that are going through, the number of things that you're producing in your company, whatever it is, whatever that looks like, right? So maybe you are a software firm, you're a consulting firm, it's the number of clients that you have, right? So maybe it is the amount of code that you've produced, whatever it is that what you'd say is your widget that you're producing. That's the thing that we're looking at. And as that gets bigger and the more that you're producing of that, the more economies you get, the more efficiencies you get from that sheer size. So the more people that you have in your company, right? The bigger the company, you have thousands. So one person is going to be a lot less efficient than, say, 1,000 people in the company, right? And there's lots of different reasons why that is. And this is, I'm just going to suggest a couple of them that I was thinking about along the way, and I think they're really important to think about them, right? So these will help you in terms of growing your company. You always should be thinking about getting these economies of scale as much as possible, because that's going to make you get efficiencies, right? These efficiencies allow you to become more profitable, because that allows you the efficiencies allow you to reduce your costs as much as possible, allowing you to have more profitability in your company, to have more profit margin in the long run in your company. By reducing those costs, the more profitable you can be. So what are those sources of, what are those sources where you can get economies of scale, or where do they derive from? These kind of weird efficiencies that come from just sheer size, right? Sometimes it doesn't make any sense, and it took me a long time. Don't feel bad if you don't understand this. It took me a long, long time to sort of understand where those efficiencies are coming from. And it just takes a lot of thinking about that. And I think I have that now at this point, at least some of them. The first one is a little bit, probably the most obvious of them. You get lot size discounts, right? So if you go and buy something from the store, they can charge you. They're going to charge you less for that particular thing, right? Because they don't have to package nearly as much stuff. They can sell you, instead of one thing, and they have many different employees to service that one thing, they can sell you 100 of those things. And because there's less employees touching that particular product, they can reduce the cost from that and sell you at a lot size. Then you're also taking on a much more risk by doing that, right? So you're taking on more risk by purchasing, say, 100 things rather than the one. The one, you only have to sell one, but if you buy 100 of them, right? So you go and buy, maybe you are doing some sort of drop shipping thing online, right? So you go and buy 100 hats. Well, you have to make sure that you sell those 100 hats before you can actually recoup all the costs of that investment, right? So you're going to get a much bigger discount because you can buy those things. You can buy 100 hats much more cheaper than you can buy one hat at a time, but you're assuming some sort of risk when you're doing that. The other discount that you can get, or the other efficiencies that you can get, is through legitimacy. This is a really important thing when you think about it, right? So the bigger you are, the more employees you have, the more that people are going to take you seriously. If you are a startup or a small company and you walk into some sort of supplier and you say, I need to get this done, they are going to probably vet you on their side. They're going to probably be like, is it really worth the time to go in and deal with this particular person? But, excuse me, my bad accent or my bad impression really backfired on me. But if you are IBM or Walmart, and you walk into that same store, they're going to treat you very seriously because they know that you are a legitimate player in the field, right? They know that you are a legitimate player and they're going to take you very, very seriously, and they're going to try really hard to impress you to win your contract because they know that that contract means a lot. It can turn into really big opportunities in the long run, right? So you get definitely discounts, and you get people, you just have a lot less hassles of having people sort of discounting you along the way when you're small, compared to when you're much larger, and you can get these economies of scale through just being from your sheer legitimacy, right? So your suppliers are going to treat you, they're going to take you a lot more seriously. The larger you get, you're probably going to get much better discounts from that. The other thing that you're going to get, and this is incredibly important, you get two they're very similar effects. The first one is a specialization. So you can have employees. So if you have 1,000 employees, you can have employees doing very, very specific things that you couldn't afford when you say you had 5 employees. Those 5 employees are going to be sort of Jack or Jills of all trades, and they're going to be trying all and doing a bunch of things, and that is really costly, right? It's really costly in terms of they're not specializing in the one thing that they're doing, and they're being kind of underutilized compared to if you have 1,000 employees and you can have that one person that's just programming in one certain kind of code. Maybe you have one kind of driver that's out there. You're a taxi company and they're servicing long-haul driving routes or something like that. So you have to think about how you can specialize, and you gain these specializations from this, and that really benefits you because the more that you can specialize and the more that your employees can specialize and focus on one thing, they're going to get sort of learning benefits from that. The more that you sort of whittle down and do one little tiny thing, and you do that really, really well, the better you get at that particular thing, because you get the benefits from learning about all the ins and outs and all the kind of little tiny nitty-gritty things, right? So if you are a large company and you can afford a in-house legal counsel, that legal counsel can understand all the law that is very specific to you as a company, compared to, let's say you're a 3-person company and you have to sort of hire a just legal counsel from outside, and they're probably going to be generalists. So they're not going to know all of the nitty-gritties about your particular company, and that is really important. That's an important thing to think about. Now, the last that I'm going to name today, the last sort of effect that may allow you to get economies of scale, or the benefits, sort of rationales why you get economies of scale. The larger you get, the more efficient you get. You just have a larger network. You have more personal contacts, which means you're going to get better opportunities by knowing all of these different people. So all of your employees know different people. They're going to present different opportunities to you or to your company as they see them, right? But if you have 1 or 2 employees, they're going to have far fewer contacts. They're going to have far fewer opportunities, and you're just not going to get the same benefits that you're going to get by just having many, many different sort of contacts and networks that are available. That's a really important thing that we often forget about, right? So there is one more thing that I wanted to point out, and maybe I'll give it in another video and talk about it. There is such thing as called an economies of scope. This is where you offer not just you not just have large amounts of things that you're producing, but you offer many different kinds of products and services, right? So the more things you offer, and you do get economies from that as well. I'm not going to get into that at this moment because I think the economies of scale is probably the most important thing. You can focus on how you can actually increase the economies of scale that you have in your company, however it might be, right? So the more that you grow and the more employees you have, the more widgets that you're producing, the better your economies of scales are going to be from those different factors, right? So how can you get economies of scale even if you're small? What you can do is you can focus really, really finely. So find your niche, whatever it is, and just focus and be very, very specialized in that sort of area, and just keep producing as much as possible. Pretty soon you're going to start getting economies of scale. And the other thing that's really cool, the more that you produce, the more that you get kind of compound interest effects, right? So if you start putting in more YouTube videos, for example, you start putting out sort of blog posts or whatever it is, you start pushing all that kind of stuff out there, those older YouTube videos or older blog posts, they're going to get traffic. That's going to eventually start driving traffic to newer ones because people are going to get interested in that. And pretty soon you get this compounding effect over time, which is kind of like an economies of scale sort of story that's being told, right? It's just more you do something, the more specialized you is, the more that you're producing, the better off you're going to get, the more efficiencies you're going to get along the way, and the more opportunities you're going to get along the way because of the sheer size. So that's what I encourage you to do. Doesn't necessarily mean if you're just a one-person thing, one-person company, you can still get economies of scale in one little tiny thing. Whatever it is, you can focus on trying to get that as much as possible to grow your company, to get it more efficient with your company. It's really important to do. So if you like these videos, make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm putting these things out, these videos about small businesses and startups every Saturday at this moment, trying to put that out. It's all the stuff that I'm trying to be as helpful as I possibly can, trying to put out as much useful information as I can as a professor of innovation, strategy, and entrepreneurship, and trying to be just open and I just want to help out as many people as I can. I want to make sure that the advice that I give is scalable, right? So that's why I'm putting out these YouTube videos, and I'm trying to hopefully benefit you. And if there's anything that you'd like for me to talk about or anything like that, you can leave a comment. That's fine as well. And the other, there's a bunch of other videos. You can go watch those. If you want to help out with the Reciprocity Project too, that's the other thing I wanted to point out. The E is spelled with a 3. It's a sharing economy proofreading platform that I'm trying to build to benefit you and hopefully do some really cool research on there. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Take care. Have a wonderful day, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye.